Welcome to the third series of our Get Inspired Week, a series of conversations where we have a whole range of guest speakers who will be sharing their insights, their key takeaways when it comes to ways of adopting innovative, business-led circular strategies. So what have we got on the agenda for this afternoon? Bringing the circular economy centre stage. Well, Glasgow has hosted a whole range of high-profile events and conferences, creating this unique opportunity, bringing individuals and organisations together. But our events also create an opportunity to showcase our city and to boost our local economy. Last year alone saw over 3 million event attendances. And I suppose as we become more adept to living alongside COVID, there's very much that ambition to increase those numbers, especially in light of some of the high-profile events that we've already got on next year's calendar, including COP26, November next year. But there's no doubt that the city is also very aware of some of the challenges that the production of some of these high-scale events also poses, especially when it comes to the tremendous level of resources that sometimes go underutilised, such as the construction of our events, the amount of plastic that's used, food waste, looking at how we market and how we promote our events, or even how we get our delegates to the events, transport, accommodation, and then there's the whole deconstruction of our event space. Opportunities to improve the legacy of our high-profile events are without a doubt endless. There's also no doubt that Glasgow very much has a commitment of sustainability right at its heart. Only as of last October, the city of Glasgow was one, and in fact, I think the only UK city to have been included in the Global Destination Sustainability Index. And the city was also one of only 5 cities around the world to be recognised for sustainable business tourism. So, today's session. I'm hoping to use today's session to really explore how the circular economy can continue to support and to accelerate the city's efforts. Not only in bringing sustainable events to the city, but also how do we use circular economy in playing a part in recovery from COVID. But I don't want this just to be an opportunity for you to sit and listen to others, absolutely not. I'd love you to be very much part of that conversation. And I'd encourage you all to use the chat function. All I'd ask is that you simply note down your name, your organisation and your question, and I'll do the very best I can to try and thread as many as I can through today's discussions. The conversation will also continue online, social media, so if you don't already follow us, then please do, Circular Glasgow, hashtag Circular Future. And then my final point to you all is this session absolutely will be recorded and will be available from Friday onwards. And you'll be able to gain access to this recording on Glasgow Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. And I'd love to introduce my first speaker, Mitchell. Mitchell is the Sustainability Co-ordinator for Digital Festival. Digital is a worldwide electronic festival with an ambition to become the world's first circular festival. So Mitchell, welcome and thank you very much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Mitchell, I'm going to warm you up gently and ask you a very easy question to get you kick-started. How do you pronounce your surname?
My surname is van Dooijeweerd. It's a Dutch name.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you very much. And with it being a Dutch name, where are you calling from today? Are you calling from Amsterdam?
Yeah, I'm in Amsterdam at the moment. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you on board. So, Mitchell, I know when I first started looking into best practice circular economy within the event industry, one of the first festivals that I came across was digital, and certainly the ambition of positioning yourselves as one of the world's first sustainable festivals really grabbed my attention. So I'm curious to know what steps are you guys, you and your team, taking to try and achieve this?
So yeah, we did start. I hear myself a little bit. Yeah, we turn. Yeah, I work for the Revolution Foundation, and we are making the sustainability plans for digital. So I work for digital as well. And what we do is we provide sustainable and circular systems for festivals and events. And we accelerate the transitions towards sustainable and circular economy. And that's the approach that we have with digital too. So we turn our festivals into living labs for circular innovations in the cities.
Fantastic. I love that concept of turning, utilizing that ecosystem of an event into a living lab. I suppose, how have you been able to thread that into the work that Amsterdam is doing on a bigger level? And I suppose the concept that's forefront of my mind is Kate Raworth's donut economy.
Yeah, that is one of the concepts that we are using. We made, out of the whole donut economy, we made a theoretical framework for ourselves. So we made a festival donut, so we can make it applicable for festivals too. So we are, one of the first companies that are using the model to make Amsterdam circular and to, it's a super cool model where we have the ecological ceiling and the social boundaries, and it's like a super strict model and super easy to visualize what the impact is of what you're doing. And next to that, we are using we want to become circular last year already. So in 2020, in Easter, so April, we wanted to have a circular festival already, but despite of the COVID-19, we had to cancel the event. But we were ready for it. Becoming circular means, you first have to figure out what is a circular festival and what are circular systems. So we first defined all the circular systems, and we defined what is a circular festival. So from there on, we could make interventions to work on those goals that we have per system. And that's based on a lot of theories and a lot of theoretical frameworks, but we made one for ourselves. And the Green Deal Circular Festival is using the same framework as us right now.
Fantastic. And I suppose when you think about these interventions, when I think about a festival, I'm thinking they're very energy intensive. There's a lot of materials, you've got people eating and drinking. What around those sort of themes of energy, materials, food and drink, what kinds of initiatives have you guys been working on at Digital?
We did a lot already. We started in 2013 with our sustainability efforts. So from the beginning of digital, we started with revolutionary circular and sustainable projects. For example, you mentioned energy. Their goal for energy is to have all the produced and all the energy that we are using is based from renewable energy. So from solar and wind, for example. And what we did is we worked together with the city of Amsterdam to get more grid connections on the festival sites that we are hosting our events. And we reduced the needs for energy with all the suppliers. So we talked with all, get in conversation with all the suppliers and asked, okay, is this really needed to do it in this way? Maybe we can do it in LED lights instead of halogen lights, for example. And based on that, we gathered all the data that everybody needs, and then we make like a smart energy plan out of it. So it's like a super efficient energy plan. And next to the efforts that we, next to the project that we have with the municipality, we had half of the festival was on grid connection and half of the festival was peak shaved during peaks with batteries, which are storing the green energy, the renewable energy. So last year we had the complete show with 45,000 visitors run on renewable energy. So that was super cool. And next to that,
that's an amazing achievement.
Yeah, it's a great achievement, but especially because we work together with the municipality of Amsterdam, and they are cooperating with us, and they have high ambitions as well. That's why we achieved it. And next to that, for example, we have a circular food court where we have like a procurement plan for all the suppliers that we have, for all the food caterers. They only, first of all, it's a vegetarian festival. Next to that, so they cannot buy meat. Next to that, we have in the procurement plan that they have to buy biodegradable materials for plates, for cutlery, and for napkins. And during the event, we turn all the compostable materials, all the biodegradable materials into compost within 24 hours. So it's visible for the guests as well. So it results in a huge amount of awareness and great compost for the local farmers where we can produce food out of again. So that's our circular food court. And I have some other projects that I can mention, but I don't know if you have other questions already.
No, I love the example of the food court, and I mean it's so clearly circular when you're taking it, you're composting it, you're using that compost to grow new food, and I presume that food then does that become a supplier for future festivals and events?
Yeah, it becomes a supplier for the crew catering. So for all our crew on the festival side. And this was in 2018 and 2019. But in 2019, we tried to make it a little bit more, sustainable, to use food that otherwise would be thrown away. So we thought, okay, we can compost residual food, but maybe if we can use food that would be thrown away, that's even better than composting it. So the whole year we collect food. For example, we have breads from the local bakeries that are baked too small or too big or not nice to sell. And we use those breads to make toasts out of it. And we sell them.
Brilliant. I think that's a fantastic idea. And I don't know about everyone else, but certainly toasties have been my lifeline while I've been in lockdown. So yes, I can definitely see the benefit.
Yeah, and
materials. I was going to talk to you about your material. The level of materials that are used at festivals are phenomenal. How on earth do you keep track of everything that comes into the event and what leaves?
Yeah, because festival is like the ideal place to test those things. It's a place that is around with fences, and it's like a kind of a small city that we built for a number of days, and we can control everything precisely. And we can control everything from construction to our procurement plan, from energy, from fuels. We can really we can control everything what's on our festival. So everything that is coming into the festival, we collect data from it, and we make a material flow analysis out of it. So we know exactly what's coming into the festival and what what it will be on the festival side, or what it will turn into. And then we have the output side, where it's processed or reused, and we have like a super cool visualization for that, and it's called a material flow analysis. And based on the data from the material flow analysis, we make a data-driven intervention for next year.
That's really interesting, and I think it really shows the role that data can play. You know, has that been really important in terms of allowing you to make adjustments and to create a more sustainable circular festival going forward?
Yeah, that allows us to do that, because, for example, if we work with suppliers that are not really into sustainability, we always try to find suppliers that are really into sustainability and have ambitious goals as we have. But sometimes there are people that don't want to change, or is it like a sector or something that is hard to change, and then we have visual for everybody that this is the way, the thing that we want to improve, and the thing that we want to get circular, and if those are the only things that we need to change before we can be circular, then we have like, it's much more, they understand it more than if we don't make it visible.
Yeah. And how important is it that you have that buy-in from your suppliers?
It is super important because we need everybody for our festival. Everybody is involved in the festival, just as we are, and we are making the concept, we are doing the marketing, and we are connecting all the suppliers with each other, but we are, we need each other.
So it's very much a partnership and collaboration, and the recognition that, you know, not one party can do this by themselves. It's really important to get that buy-in all the way through the chain. You talked about some of the other initiatives as well that you've been working on. I know when we spoke, you mentioned the modular staging, which I really like, that sort of standardization. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have several events across the world, and for some of the things, because we want to make a real global sustainability program which is super strong, and where we can inspire a lot of visitors, but suppliers and governments too, and all the entrepreneurs that are working in that city. And one of the things that we find super interesting is cut down our demolition waste and all the decoration waste, because we think it's not really necessary to build like a super like fantasy place where everything is built and then thrown away. So we tried to make a modular stage, several modular stages, and with LED, with like layer constructions, and with that we had 86% less demolition waste, and we had like 80% less residual waste in the whole festival from 2018 to 2019. And this was one of the initiatives for that. And it's super scalable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask, actually. I mean, those stats that you've given us are phenomenal. I remember reading somewhere that, you know, after an exhibition, on average, 47% of materials end up in landfill, which, you know, is pretty frightening. So, I mean, to hear how adapting and including a sort of modular staging system can help reduce that is phenomenal. I guess, you know, with some of these initiatives that you're trialing, how easy is it to scale them up, and how easy is it to get other event organizers bought into those pilots, I suppose?
So the Revolution Foundation we're working for is it started from the Revolution program of digital. So it is the foundation of digital, and we have a lot of knowledge with digital because we want to work on sustainability always, and we try to scale it up, and we want to share our knowledge. So we thought, okay, we should start a foundation, and then we can help other festivals. And if we help some other festivals, the rest will follow. And that is basically what I did last year. I did the sustainability program for 11 festivals, and yeah, it became like a little bit normal for everybody to do it like that. Because, for example, the municipality of Amsterdam, to get a, they have like regulations. If you want a permit to organize a festival in Amsterdam, you need to. There are strict rules for it. You need to have 80% of last year, 80% renewable energy. This year, 100% renewable energy. You need to have a resource management plan. You have to sketch all the material flows, and it is super strict, and it's super cool that they're having those ambitions. But because we know how to get the permits and how to make events sustainable and circular, then all the festivals are asking us to do it. So that's the way we can scale it up, just by regulations and measures.
And that's great. I mean, that clearly gives you a business advantage, doesn't it? I mean, positioning yourself as a pioneer, you've now got other organizations wanting to work alongside you.
Yeah, and for example, that's one of the things that the municipality and regulation is important. But when the experience of for the festival visitors is getting better, for example, with our hard cup, the cup rotation system, it's much better for the festival experience, that you don't have all the cups on the floor, that you bring it to the bar again, that you can get a new one. And it's like the whole festival area is super clean. And that's with the food court too. You have to bring back your food disposables, and we make compost out of it. But you get a good vibe out of it. Everybody likes to see that and have a good feeling, because they are feeling that they're doing something good. And the whole area is like super clean. So it's a win-win.
It definitely sounds like a win-win. Now, I'm really keen to bring in my other panelists. I've got one more question for you, and then we'll bring in my other panelists. And I suppose the question on everyone's lips, obviously with COVID, this year digital ran an online event. And I suppose I'm really keen, and I'm sure our delegates will be keen to get a better understanding of what worked, what the challenges were, and I guess, are there any digital innovations that you're looking at continuing into the future?
Yeah, definitely. Like, what we see is that the combination of the offline and the online events is super important, and the reach of offline events is super super wide. So we have had a big reach, like 5 million visitors at our festival, at our online festival. So normally we have 45,000 visitors at digital in Amsterdam, but now we had 5 million. So it is accessible for everybody, and that is one of our key pillars, that we want to be accessible for everybody, and that everybody can enjoy our music and our sustainability efforts and our art projects. So yeah, but definitely it's not good to have it only online, because you see that everybody is missing being together, and everybody wants to be at the party again. Maybe not only a party, but all the events that we have, or that everybody has. And next to that, we want resilient communities. For example, our suppliers, all the crew that we have, and everybody is working at us. We need the live events to build a local community, and that's really what we want to do. But we really want to add the online part of the event to the offline event. So I think the hybrid event will be something that will stay with us for in the next years.
Okay, that's good to hear. Right, I would like to bring in my other panelist members. Today we have Fiona Ellis, who's the Business Support Manager from DF Concerts. Hi, Fiona. DF Concerts is Scotland's leading promoter and events management company, and responsible for events and venues that I'm sure a lot of us in Glasgow and Scotland hold very dear to our hearts, including Transmit, King's Tuts, the summer sessions, and of course Tea in the Park. We've also got Jazz Hutsby with us here, creator of 3D digital spaces. Jazz is an experienced lighting and a venue designer who took advantage during lockdown and created a collaboration resulting in V Club, a virtual online 3D club. So I'm super excited to be hearing more about that, Jazz. And Andy Gemmell. Andy Gemmell is the owner of The Gate, a very popular pub in the East End of Glasgow. Andy has a wealth of experience within the drinks industry. And I have to admit, Andy, when I was checking online for a little bit more info on your bio, I came across the first post said that you were a Scottish drink veteran. So as far as I'm concerned, I think everybody needs an Andy Gemmell in their life. Welcome to
that just makes me sound old.
Fiona, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, we've heard from Mitchell about the importance of sustainability within the events that they host at the City of Amsterdam and the Netherlands. I suppose my question for you is, how do you see sustainability in the circular economy playing a role within the Scottish event sector?
Yeah, exceptionally. I mean, with COVID right now, I just think it's exceptionally important that obviously we need to build consumer confidence coming back to events when we do actually get the opportunity to move forward again. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's exceptionally important for our customers to know that we are being as sustainable as possible because it's high on their agenda. All market research is showing us right now that it's something that they want to see at our events. Yeah, I mean, it's about trust in brand, isn't it, as well? It's just making sure that, we're building that loyalty with our consumers and our customer base. And, artists are coming forward now wanting us to take responsibility in this area, making sure that, we're working on our plans, that when they come to the events, they're asking us, how sustainable are you? What are you doing to ensure that basically, the customers that we are driving to your event as well, that they're actually, that we've taken care of their needs as well, and that we're looking after the kind of whole planet as they see it.
Great, thank you. And I guess, in terms of sustainable initiatives that you're adopting within your own suite of events and working in collaboration with your venues as well, what sort of initiatives have you been exploring?
Well, I mean, we obviously are part of an organisation called Green Nation, and Green Nation is made up of 40 different festivals under the Live Nation banner across the whole of Europe. And as part of that, we've kind of started coming up with best practice guides and, for our festivals and our venues on how that we can go out and operate these. And it's we've looked at things like in King Tut's, our own venue, we're working towards the Greener Tourism Award, so that we can create a kind of best practice guide that we can then show the other venues that we go into across Scotland, which is approximately about 100 venues that we do, over 800 shows a year that we go into. And we want to kind of demonstrate to them that, well, if we can do it in a small 300 capacity venue and we can make changes that are real changes, where it could be the removal of plastic or looking at what power that we use and finding renewable energy that we can use within that, looking at the types of waste. I mean, obviously it was interesting listening to what Mitchell was saying about the waste flow. That's exactly what we're doing for every event that we're actually doing and that we operate from our festivals to our venues. and looking at actually what sort of waste we are generating and what we can do to actually either make that circular or eradicate it from actually being there in the first place. I mean, other things that we're looking at specifically in relation to our actual festivals is obviously, we said, completely eradicating plastic from festivals. So looking at ways that we don't, we can use compostable water bottles, looking at compostable cups for, the front stage when you get handed some water effectively from the security guards. We're trying to find ways as well to look at the power that we're generating. Again, very similar to Mitchell, we've gone out to our artists and said, do you actually require this power? Are you actually asking for the right amount of power? And then creating a power plan that actually can then go, we can measure as well, and we can try and improve on year, looking at LED and using LED in the tower lights as well as the stage lights, finding ways as well that, we can reduce the PA systems, like looking at the types of PA systems we're using and whether or not we can actually reduce the amount of power that they require. And then obviously even down to the generators and powering them with biodiesel rather than actually red diesel.
Thanks, Fiona. It's really helpful to get a better idea of sort of real tangible activity that's happening to support your sustainable credentials. I'm going to pass on to Andy now. Andy, obviously, you're an owner of a traditional pub. Now, Fiona obviously works on large-scale events, but I wouldn't normally associate going to the pub as an event. But I understand as we've gone through COVID, events have been very much event experiences very much become part of your business plan moving forward. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. Well, we describe the Gate as a modern pub, and I think I grew up in pubs. Like, I've been out of it a long time. I was actually in events for quite a long time as well. Really wanted to have a kind of a pub, but we do cocktails, we do everything that you would probably expect. The word pubs kind of became a dirty word to kind of change that. And the first thing was about community. The second thing was about making it feel alive. And a lot of people in bars don't tend to do that. We have collaborations. So probably a better word than events is collaborations, and we use people from around Scotland. We try to keep it within Glasgow as much as well. And it's just to try and make the place feel alive. And actually, when we came out of lockdown just there, that's all we did for the first 6 weeks, collaborational events. So we looked at local chefs to come in and do takeovers for and kind of really push themselves as well when it came to what they were doing. Also working with other bartenders to come in and create menus for the night. And again, we did a couple of sustainable kind of nights as well within the bar industry. It's becoming more and more important, especially for the new generation coming through as well. So we did a couple of nights where there's a couple of brands from Williams, I don't know if you know, they own Glenfiddich, but they've just released a new product called Discarded, and it's all using leftover banana peels to create a banana rum. And we did a night all around the ability for that as well. But yeah, this, I think, especially in the bar industry, events, of course, it's going to be bad, but we have to do more to make it feel alive. Events, collaboration, supporting. We've called it unofficially within the pub. We call it a 10-mile or 10-mile radius, and it's looking at who we can walk close to us and celebrate the great things that are going on within Glasgow.
Great. Yeah, no, the strength of collaborating and collaborating with other businesses brings new business opportunities and an opportunity to showcase new concepts. I suppose in addition to collaborations, which are quite new to you, I suppose something else that a lot of businesses have experienced is having to adapt quite quickly and pivot to more of a digital world. How's that been for you?
It's been okay. Mainly because my partner's got her own kind of marketing PR, so she's been great at introducing me to this world. But we, during lockdown, launched a kind of cocktail delivery service as well. So we used social media as much as we can, but we created a kind of Create My Cocktail, it was called. and what you did was you went on and answered these 5 questions, created a bespoke cocktail for you. So it would be like, what's your favourite movie of all time? What's your favourite flavour? What's your favourite fruit? And we created bespoke cocktails because we wanted to be, I suppose, like the events, like Mitchell was saying, you're trying to, with the digital world, bring as much normality as you can to an experience. You can create my cocktail. There's nothing better than sitting in a cocktail bar and having the bartender create you a cocktail out of nothing. You know, asking you how you're feeling, what kind of spirits you like, and wanted to create that kind of experience while everyone was in lockdown, and that went really, really well. And obviously the obvious things like updating, making booking services and bookings very, very easy to kind of book into the bar as well.
Great, thank you. I think that's given us a real flavour in terms of how you've managed to embrace digital with a view to building your business going forward. And I suppose speaking of digital, that leads us nicely onto conversation with Jazz. Jazz, during lockdown, you collaborated with others to create V Club, an online 3D club experience. Can you tell us a little bit more about that concept?
Yeah, of course. So my colleague and I, Oliver Gorman, we're lighting technicians and found ourselves sitting with not much to do. We use quite a lot of pre-visualization techniques and software within our industry anyway. And we're watching DJs start to stream more and more. And I just had on the whim the idea, was like, well, if we can create for pre-visualization techniques an accurate club, an accurate venue, an accurate event, then why couldn't we put that up on the screen with the music, and we can have live control of the lighting and visuals as though it was an immersive experience. So poor Ollie got the phone call, and that's where it kind of spawned from. It was one of those things we were doing just to pass the time, to keep ourselves busy, and as I'm sure quite a lot of people will know, once it becomes that sort of baby, rather than staving off insanity, it kind of chucked us in the opposite direction, and it just kind of spawned from there. So we started collaborating with DJs, and the DJ would stream, rather than streaming up directly up to their platform. They would stream to us directly so that we can package it up, because as I'm sure a lot of people understand, if they've been doing Zoom meetings and things, there's quite a lot of latency and delays when you start working with lots of different people. So it was important that the only real lag in the lighting was my inability to hit the buttons in time to the music. So the DJ streamed to us, and we use about 4 or 5 different computer systems, all linked to then stream out and back up, and what you get is the final package. And now we're looking to sort of expand into performing arts as well, and into education. Is that how can these environments be used not just for the DJs and for other artists, but for other aspects of the industry.
Great, thank you very much. And I suppose, virtual events, love them or loathe them, but they have been held for their sustainability and their, waste reduction benefits. Do you think the virtual events are here to stay? And I suppose what benefits could they provide with a sustainability hat on?
I mean, obviously, I hope so. Having spent the past 6 months quite deep in amongst it all, it's opened up a world that, because we were tended to work in live events, actually being at events, it's not really a world we jumped into much. So it's been a bit of an eye opener, and I think so. I think this hybrid event, Mitchell was saying, the accessibility is a key thing now. Particularly, we don't know what's going to happen over the next year. We don't presume that digital events will ever take away from events in the real world. Everything will just move online, to be honest. And nor would we want them to, because it's such an important aspect of a social aspect is actually going out. But I think it can provide resilience in if you can deliver this hybrid event, so a real world event with an accurate digital event. People can access it from wherever they are, like in the world, as long as they have a good enough internet connection, and you make it accessible to them. So, but also with we're seeing lots of like local lockdowns happening, and we've no idea how long that's going to last. So, if you spend a lot of time organizing an event and it's only in real world, and you suddenly get a local lockdown, all of that time and effort is gone. Whereas if you are also pursuing a hybrid event, then perhaps you can move the entire thing to a digital and go, look, guys, we're in a lockdown, but the event is still going on. And if you pursue that from the outset, you're not rushing. You have that in the forefront of your mind that you are doing a hybrid event. So sustainability wise, I think it's particularly with green as well. People who maybe won't travel as far because they can access a digital event as well. So you start to reduce a lot of traffic with that as well. So very sustainable.
I guess I wonder if there's also a role around digital in terms of being used as a pre-planning tool. And I'll ask you first, Jasper. I'd probably like to bring in both Fiona and Mitchell on this. Is there an opportunity, you think about manufacturing and digital in prototyping? Could the same apply to putting on a new event?
From the V Club's asset and point of view, because we were predominantly entertainment technicians, the software and processes we're exploiting to create the digital events are industry standard. So when we're creating events, we're not creating a 3D model that doesn't really exist anywhere else. We're creating it within a CAD program, and all of those can be used and exploited. The key thing is the data capture. So in the process of creating a digital event, we're using software that will be able to pre-plan a real world event. So if you're creating an exact digital copy, all of that information would be correct for the digital event. So you're pre-planning. If you spend a lot of time on the pre-planning within that CAD program, within those other software, your management and efficiency in theory increases as long as the human aspect and the input is correct. So yes, absolutely. The pre-planning from that aspect would be very useful.
Is there a tool in existence, Fiona, that allows you to pre-plan your events to sort of roll them out as efficiently as possible and minimize waste before you do the real thing, I suppose?
At present, I've not seen one. I mean, there's lots of project management tools that are out there. We don't actually utilize them because we've actually found that still the good old spreadsheet is actually probably the easiest thing to manage actually our events. But yeah, I am actually interested in a tool like that and actually having a look to see if it, I mean, it's very similar to if you were doing traffic modeling. It could be a very similar process. There is software that's out there that helps you work out how your traffic is going to flow. So I think actually, yeah, it could be really interesting. I mean, obviously making these things as cost effective as possible as well is always going to be of benefit. But I would imagine anything that can model and demonstrate and show how you could reduce your waste or, how you could reduce your power, I think is probably really probably the most interesting. I mean, for us as well, we're urban city festivals just now, so a lot of people use use the actual local transport, but I could definitely see more modelling in relation to transport and things like that could actually help bring emissions down in that sense as well. So that, yeah, I could see it being very helpful.
Mitchell, I'll hand over you, but just before I do, we'd like to remind our delegates if they've got any questions, please put them forward. We've got sort of probably another 10 minutes left of questions, so do put your questions forward. Mitchell, what's your thought about digital in terms of prototyping events?
Yeah, that's kind of funny, but we worked on that last year. We wanted to make a digital twin, like an online version of our event, but made in Python. So it's like a gaming software, and you can walk through the festival, and it's like, super cool. Before COVID happened, we were working on that. and we are still working on it. But it is the same as Amsterdam is using right now. They made a 3D model of Amsterdam, and if you are living in somewhere, you can see which buildings are being built in the next years, and you can walk through your neighborhood. You can see which buildings are there in a couple of years are planned to be built. And we thought it's super cool for us to have like a digital twin version where the whole neighborhood can see how our festival is looking, and that it can see or spot like traffic jams or all those things. And it was super, it can be super effective for us.
Great. Okay, I guess with COVID very much forefront of mind for the event and hospitality sector, I suppose I'm really keen to hear from each of you really what your thoughts are in terms of what the future of events might look like going forward. So maybe Jazz, if I could start with you.
Wow. It's something that has been at the forefront of our minds, particularly considering what we've been developing with the V Club sort of platform. We hope that events will come back, and we feel that they will in real world terms. But it's kind of a bittersweet thing for us, you know, with what's been happening, is that actually we've opened this sort of door to Narnia with digital events. It's very exciting. So while there's quite a lot of negativity out there, it's been quite an exciting period in certain ways for us. I believe that hybrid events, purely because of the accessibility, the reach that you can have for your event, short-term filling seats that you can't fill because you need gaps between people, longer term, purely the reach. If you think of large festivals that sell out their tickets, their physical tickets, within 10 minutes or 20 minutes or within the hour, if you have a digital twin, and the digital twin it's the concept and the ways that can be used is very exciting. You can, if you have a digital festival, a digital twin, and the digital audience can go on and see, they can go and ride on the fairgrounds the same way as if their friends are going there. Then you have reach to people, all those people that didn't get quick enough, they may buy a digital ticket because they can experience the festival to a very similar extent within that digital twin, and that reach is great. It's amazing. So the hybrid event's definitely going to be a thing, I feel.
Mitchell, would you support that?
Yeah, definitely. I really like those. I really like the live events, but if somebody's not able to be at the festivals, so it could be in several ways, and it's super cool that you can attend the event in an online way. And I think that's super cool if that's like a twin of the real version. So you can, for example, somebody is really interested in the art of like the visual elements of the festival, and then you can have it all instead of only the music.
I guess my nervousness would be, if you had a twin, would you end up cannibalizing the real thing? Because surely you couldn't charge the same amount for a digital experience as you could a physical live event. Fiona, I'm curious to understand your thoughts on it.
I'm actually in agreement. I think it's a way forward for hybrid, but I think we have to be realistic. It will never, ever replace the live experience. It will never, ever take away the emotion that you feel when you're standing in front of your favourite artist with your friends, enjoying that moment, singing along to the song. The songs are your favourite songs. So but we do, we work a lot on accessibility at Transmit. We've got the largest platforms, some of the largest platforms for, accessible platforms and various services that we operate at the event across Scotland. And, we're very aware that some people can't come to the event for some reason. So it is opening up, I suppose, another area to us that we were we were thinking and demonstrating, and we are looking at establishing a live streaming platform that we will be going out with. And again, things like King Tut's, it's a world famous venue, but not everybody can actually make it. And it's so I can see for events that are popular, I can see this being an added benefit, and it could be an added income. I don't think it'll ever replace the level of income that the live experience actually generates and brings to the economy. And, we just really need to work on getting that full capacity plan back in place so that we can actually be in a situation that we can benefit from both of these, types of industry, the live as well as the streaming element as well.
And Andy, I mean, from your perspective, do you see these new collaborations, these new event experiences that you're creating for your customers, do you feel that they're here to stay? Of this conversation, unfortunately. I suppose I've got one more question that I'd like to put to the panelists, and hopefully Andy will be able to join us. I suppose my final question is, oh, Andy, you're back. Hi, can you hear us? Hi, Andy? No. Okay, well, Andy tries to get his sound sorted. I suppose my question to the panelists are, obviously we've got a group of delegates on today's call. I'm suspecting that the majority of them work within the event and conference delivery sector. And if you were to give them one piece of advice each in terms of, how would they start their sustainability journey? What one step could they take? What would that look like? Jazz, can I start with you, please?
I suppose you just have to take that leap. There is obviously risks and fear to starting in it, particularly if we're talking digital events. You just kind of have to go for it, really, and you have to take that risk and just go with confidence, I guess.
Fiona, what would your advice be?
Mine would be, how can we say yes before we say no? I think it would be exploring how can we actually do this? How can we make this happen? Make sure it goes on to your agenda of every discussion that you have. It starts right in your planning process. So when you talk about finance, or you talk about ticketing, or you talk about, what PA company you're bringing, everything, that you actually start having that conversation and give sustainability the level that it deserves. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's on the same level as health and safety within your organisation. You should be looking at sustainability as part of your events, and yeah, I think it's just, how can we do it before we say no, because there will always be barriers. And I think if you can just remain positive right from the start out, then you'll overcome those barriers, and you'll start discussions within your team that you never even realised could actually happen.
Great, thank you, Fiona. I think that's really good advice. Mitchell, I'm going to be a bit cheeky. I've actually got two questions for you because Lisa has slipped a question in for you. She is asking, do you consider the UK to be lagging behind the Netherlands in terms of progress? So why do you think this is?
If I consider the UK is behind it as the Netherlands, I am not really aware of the whole strategy of the UK. So I don't know, but if it's so, I think the Netherlands is like super ambitious, and they set the bar really high, and they find suppliers and communities to work with, which has super high ambitions too. And I think if you have like a high ambition, then it's easier to gain small steps than because you are eager to say yes to things instead of say no because you want to achieve a goal. And maybe, but I know only for Amsterdam, I know they have really ambitious goals. That's maybe a part of it.
Thank you. And if you were to give your one piece of advice to our delegates, what would that be?
You guys both said something really good already. Like leadership is super important, and saying yes to everything, not everything, but a lot of things is really important too. But I think to get to interventions, you first need to know what the impacts are, and first have to make a baseline measure, because I think that it will suit for any organization, any festival, any country, even countries. First, identify the impact. For example, CO2 emissions, pollution, or food waste, for example, that we have. And then sketch a systems map. So implement system thinking. And then you can, for example, for the system energy, as I told you, or the system water, for example, you can reduce all the impacts that you have. But based on your baseline measurement, you have to find the points where you have the biggest impact, and you need to focus on those instead of just doing things that you think that are good. Because
Great.
then
So
you are really efficient. Sorry.
Sorry, Mitchell. I thought you finished there in terms of having that baseline as a starting point, and then you know what you've got to improve on. I think that's great advice. Andy, welcome back. We only have a couple. Oh, Andy, I can't hear you.
You hear me? Is that better?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. We lost you when you were talking about, did you think that the events and collaborations were here to stay? And also, if you were to give one piece of advice just quickly to our delegates, what would that be in terms of their first step?
Well, I think just going back to what I was saying, just kind of my advice, I think coming out of this, and we will come out of it, we need to stay positive. We're going to get there eventually, is the experience has got to be more for events, for bars and restaurants. We're going to have to give them more of a reason than ever to come out. So whether that's through digital, like the events and what they're saying, we're already looking at, sounds ridiculous, but a live stream to the bar so people can feel like they're in the place. And I think that you've got to really care about that experience from start to finish. Events, digital's a great tool to have it, but that person interactive thing you're going to have with people now and ever when we come out of this is going to be important.
Great, thank you very much. Now, just before I wrap up, I owe Molly Ross an apology. That was your question, which I attributed to Lisa. So Molly, apologies, and it was a great question for Mitchell there. So we've had some fabulous contributions today. I mean, guys, I could actually speak to each of you for a full hour. 1 hour with the four of you is just not long enough at all. But I wanted to thank you very much for your time and your contributions today. And I'm sure you'll be able to hear, just as I can, the virtual round of applause from our delegates. I'd also like to thank our delegates for attending today. Thank you so much for tuning in and being part of the bigger conversation. If you enjoyed today's session, then the good news is that I am back tomorrow at the same time, a session around food and drink, and I'm absolutely delighted that I'll have speakers from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. I'll have Polly Purvis from Intelligent Growth Solutions, Ylva Hagland from Zero Waste Scotland, and Giovanna Usabi. So do join us if you can. Obviously, food and drink is very much part of the event scene. On Thursday at 10 o'clock, Cheryl, my colleague, will also be hosting a session on manufacturing, so do check that out. And just before I go, I've got a couple of points just to leave with you. If any of you would like to further the conversation or have any queries, do get in contact with myself or the wider Chamber team. You can head over to the Expo area of this platform and register your interest, and one of us will certainly be back in touch. The final point is, if you're keen to continue the conversation for an extra 30 minutes, head along to the networking, and why not meet some of the other delegates that were on this session today. So all that remains for me to say is to thank you once again and enjoy the rest of your day.